So we're going to be rearranging some equations here. In this first equation, we've got it in terms of x, and we have to make r the subject. So it's a bit of a trickier question since we've got a fraction, and we've got r in both the numerator and the denominator. So there's going to be a couple of steps that we're going to have to do it through. You just get r by itself and make that the actual subject. So if we go about solving this, whenever we have a fraction, the first thing we want to actually do is get rid of the fraction, right? So the first step we've done is we've just multiplied both sides of the equation by the denominator, which is r plus 2. Okay, so if we do that, we get x times r plus 2 on this side, and if we multiply by r plus 2, then this denominator just sort of cancels out. So we get rid of this denominator here. That's gone, and we're just left with x times r plus 2 is equal to 3r. Okay, then the next step I've done is we have expanded this left-hand side of this equation here. So x times r is just xr, and x times 2 is 2x, and that's equal to 3r. Okay, now we're nearly there. Now this is it's pretty simple stuff from here. Now, since we want to make r the subject of the equation, what I'm going to do is everything that involves r, I'm going to put that on one side, and I'm going to put everything that doesn't have r on the other side of the equation. So in this case, we have xr here, and we have 3r here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the 3r over to the left-hand side here, so that becomes xr minus 3r. And then since this 2x doesn't have an r, we want r to be the equation, so the subject of the equation, I'm going to move that to the right-hand side. So that just becomes negative 2x. Now the next step I've done is I've just sort of multiplied everything by -1 just so we can have positive 2x. It's not a necessary step. I just like doing that just so it's just a bit less confusing for me. So now we get 3r minus xr is equal to 2x. Now we want to make r the subject, and both of these terms have r in them, so we can take out r as a common factor, and inside the equation, what's left inside the brackets, what's left is 3 minus x. Now, and we can just double check that if you would expand this again, r times 3 gives us 3r, and r times negative x gives us negative xr. So we know that's correct. So we know that r times 3 minus x is equal to 2x. And therefore, to get r by itself, we just divide both sides by 3 minus x, and we get this final solution, which makes r the subject of the equation. Okay, so bit of a difficult question in the sense that we had r on both sides of the fraction. We have to get rid of the fraction. We have to get everything to one side. But yeah, once you sort of understand this process, it's not that difficult to understand. Look, the next question is pretty similar again. Now we have to make a the subject. The interesting thing about this one now here is that we've got some numbers that are, well, some variables that are to the power of 2. Over here we can see we've got n to the power of 2 plus a, and then on the denominator again we've got n plus a. So again, it's going to be similar to question 1, in which we're going to get rid of the denominator first by multiplying both sides of the equation by n plus a. So here we get p times n plus a, and that's equal to just n squared plus a on the right-hand side. Again, same as question 1, I'm going to expand the left-hand side. So that's pn plus pa, and the right-hand side stays the same. We've got n squared plus a there. Okay, now since we want to make a the subject, I'm again going to do the same thing. I'm going to get everything which has a to one side of the equation, and everything which doesn't have a in it to the other side of the equation. Okay, so over here we can see that pn, that doesn't have any a, so we're going to bring that to the right-hand side. Pa has an a, so we're going to leave that there. And we're going to bring this a here to the left-hand side as well. Okay, so on the left-hand side now we've got pa minus a. On the right-hand side we've got n squared minus pn. Okay, and then again, as we did in question 1, since we've got a as a common factor in both these terms here, we're going to factorize that out. We get a bracket p minus 1 is equal to n squared minus pn, and then we just divide both sides by this term here to get a by itself. Okay, so basically the same question is basically the same sort of thing we did as question. You get rid of the denominator, get all your, whatever you want to make the subject, just get all those variables on one side and get everything else on the other side. And then you factorize your subject out, and divide whatever is left over. There. Now the last question, this one's a bit different because, again, we do have a fraction, but here we have the square root. So we've got d is equal to square root of 3h over 2, and we want to make h the subject. So first thing we're going to do in this case, even though it's a fraction, the first thing we want to do is we need to get rid of this overarching squared symbol. Okay, how do we do that? We think, oh, what's the opposite of square rooting? Well, what's the opposite of square? The opposite of square root is square, right? Just like how division and multiplication are opposites, how subtraction and addition are opposites. We also know that square rooting and squaring, they are also opposites. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to square both sides of the equation. Remember, whatever we do, we have to do it to both sides. Otherwise, we're changing the actual equation, right? So we squared the left-hand side, so we get d squared. We're going to square the right-hand side as well. Okay, and once you square that, you just get 3h over 2 by itself. Okay. Now we want to make h the subject, so now we can get rid of this denominator that we have here. So you have the denominator of 2. So how do we get rid of that? We times both sides by 2. Again, we're doing the opposite thing, right? So we multiply everything by 2. So we get 3h now by itself is equal to 2d squared. Okay, so to multiply that by 2. And then we just need to get rid of this 3 here. So we can get rid of that 3. Since this is 3 times h, we divide both sides by 3. So we get h by itself as h is equal to 2d squared over 3. Okay? So you can get these sort of questions in your algebra exams. They're not worth too much, you know, because it is a bit of a, it's sort of like an implied knowledge sort of thing. So you will need to use this sort of knowledge. Once you get into year 11, you'll need this knowledge to answer some, word problems and things like that.